So we'll start at the beginning of your career. Um, you obviously grew up in Liverpool. I think I'm right in saying you're a boyhood red, and
Yeah,
you got to play for the youth academy. Obviously that must have been brilliant for a local lad. How was that experience growing up then?
yeah, it was amazing to be honest. When I was about 12, I actually had trials for Everton, and I went down to one of the sessions, but I didn't know how the trials worked, and my parents didn't either. So we went down for one session, and then left, and then basically was waiting for a letter to come through the door, but we didn't realise it was meant to be an 8-week trial.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so we never went back, and that was it. And then about 3 weeks later, I got invited to go down to Liverpool by a youth club worker who went by the name of Roy, and he basically just said go down on this day. So I went down. I remember seeing Stevie Highway, and he was like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Oh, Roy sent me," and he was like, "Roy who?" I was like, "I don't know. I don't know his second name." Like, so I just turned up to a Liverpool training session, and he just said, "I'll just put your boots on and go and train," like
Yeah,
that. And he was probably just thinking, "Who the hell's this?" And then literally he signed me straight after the first session.
really.
Yeah,
Well, it's a touch of luck there. You're not turning up to Everton again, isn't it?
and yeah, exactly.
Um, so, I mean, this I think I was about 4 or 5 when you were at Liverpool leaving for Blackburn. So I can't remember. I'm not going to pretend to know the ins and outs of you moving, but as far as I can work out, you've left Liverpool in the search of, was it maybe just you felt you had a better opportunity possibly at Blackburn of breaking into that first 11 and getting some game time under your belt?
Well, what it was is I actually, when I was 14, got selected to go to the national school, which was Lilleshall at the time. So that was where the best 16 players in the country basically moved home from home and lived there full time from the age of 14. So I was there with the likes of Jermaine Defoe, Joe Cole. We did all our schooling and everything there and that. And at the end of me 2 years, Liverpool offered me a scholarship and stuff. And but there was other lads who did offered professional deals too, and
Yeah,
I just didn't see how like they got offered professional deals, but I was the only one from the northwest that was actually playing for England,
yeah,
and I didn't get offered a professional contract. So in the end, it just didn't sit right with me. And at that age, I didn't know too much about how it all works and everything. But Blackburn came in for me and ended up paying a fee for me. And Graham Souness was obviously the manager at that time. He was a Liverpool legend.
mm,
And then yeah, so went moved on to Blackburn. First season, second season, we got to the FA Youth Cup, Youth Cup final. Played Arsenal in the final in that squad, and then the next season I made my debut in Europe. I'd never been in the squad before, and then I was told the day before I'm going to be in the squad, and then on the actual day of the game I was told I was going to be starting. So
yeah.
then made me debut, full
Yeah,
debut.
yeah. I seen that. I can only imagine how good that must be as a young lad playing in Europe, and then obviously, like you said, playing under Souness. So
Yeah,
I'm sure he might be a bit before your time, but I'm sure your old man was excited to see you playing under Souness, wasn't he?
yeah, definitely. Well, I'd seen all the videos and clips of him, so I knew exactly what he was about.
Yeah. Um, what was it? What was it like growing up in Liverpool at that time? I might be wrong. I seen. Did you grow up in Toxteth? I know. I've been to uni in Liverpool.
Yeah.
It's got a bit of a reputation, hasn't it, Toxteth? So what was it? What was it like growing up there as a kid?
Yeah, it's always had a reputation, and I actually grew up right in the heart of it. Basically, there's a street called Granby Street, which was back then it was the main hub of everything that people so-called said was wrong. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
but when you're growing up in it, you don't really realize, but it's all you've ever known, sort of thing. So looking back now, I've seen some I've, I've seen some stuff that like kids probably shouldn't have seen at that age and that.
Mm.
But I just class it all as character building, and I know it's weird to say now, but like the stuff that I've seen, like we used to laugh at.
Yeah.
I mean, some people wouldn't laugh at stuff, but because we didn't know any difference, it was sort of, I look at it as character building, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, I think like I've lived in Liverpool like a few years, like 4 years. I think it comes across the people there. They're quite tough, but I think, like you said, that's what makes it a good place and a lot of characters. And most people there are dead sound. Like I've got a lot of respect for Scousers.
Yeah.
And just how exciting was it then? Obviously, you mentioned. Sorry, mate. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, well, that's the thing. Like I said, for all the reputation that some areas get, and that you find some of the best people in them areas, that are just so humble, so loving, and such a community. And when I look back on my time, like I said, in all parts of the world and England, these rough areas, but within them rough areas, these amazing people.
Yeah, definitely right there. So back to the start at Blackburn. You mentioned briefly like getting your debut and stuff, but just how exciting was them couple of years when you were at Blackburn? Obviously broke through a little bit, played in the Premier League, I think, played in Europe, like you said, and then obviously you went on loan to Colchester, didn't you? And you actually got promoted with Colchester. Am I right in saying that? Yeah. So how exciting was that little period there?
Yeah, it was. At the beginning, it wasn't too exciting because I went on loan to Colchester at first for a month, I think it was 3 months or a month, and I did really well. I think I played like 8 games from midfield and scored 4, and I was only on loan. And while I was on loan, Graham Souness left to go to Newcastle, and when I returned, Mark Hughes was the manager, and so obviously I went into training and they didn't know who I was because I'd just come back on loan, and obviously I did really well at Colchester, and Colchester put in a bid straight away, and Mark Hughes called me into the office and just said, look, we're signing Robbie Savage this week. He's midfielder. It's going to obviously put you down the pecking order. You're still a young lad. You need to be playing football like regularly, do you know what I mean? So I was like, oh, there we go. And I remember like I trained that day, and I trained with the first team. We had 11v11, and I remember I absolutely ripped the training session up, and I was thinking he's gonna change his mind. But no, I got a call later on that night, and then, as I say, I was straight off to Colchester, and we ended up finishing about 15th that season, but I scored 12 goals from midfield, and then obviously we started the new season, and then we obviously ended up getting promoted, got to the 5th round of the FA Cup where we got beat by Chelsea 3-1. We were actually leading them 1-0 for most of the game. And on a personal note, I'd scored 16 goals that season, which inevitably we got promoted, but also grabbed the attention of Birmingham.
Yeah. I was just about to ask, obviously you got promoted to Birmingham, and then Birmingham had just gone down, hadn't they? But obviously this was at a period where the club were either in the Premier League, sort of fighting to survive, or at the top end of the Championship. So it was quite a big move for you, where you probably knew that, with a promotion, which was probably within reach, you'd get another shot at the Premier League, hopefully. So how was it then moving to Birmingham?
Yeah, it was brilliant, to be honest. I actually played with Alex Bruce at Blackburn because he was 2 years below me in the Blackburn Youth Academy. So, sorry, he was 1 year below me, and he used to play in our team quite a bit. So I remember we went to a tournament in Amsterdam, and we played like Ajax, Real Madrid, and stuff like that. And like I think I ended up getting one of the players of the tournament, and did my ankle bad against Real Madrid in the last game. But obviously Steve Bruce was there watching Alex, and so he'd seen me growing up through the youth system through playing. But then obviously when I'd won and scored 16 goals, it wasn't like he was taking a gamble. He'd actually watched me grow. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously he took me there. But it was a big move for me. Obviously, it was the first time I was getting bought into a first team, to be part of a first team squad, and one with so many names at the time, like some of them left before the season started, but yeah, the likes of Emil Heskey, Jermaine Pennant, David Dunn, all of them there, and obviously I played with Dunny and Martin Taylor at Blackburn. So when I walked in the changing room straight away, I was like, yeah, this is I want a bit of this, you know what I mean? And then to say to get promoted again, so I'd had 2 promotions on the bounce, and obviously didn't start as much as I wanted. I think I started about 15 games, but made like 36 appearances or something during the season. So I played my part, you know what I mean? So that was just to go from feeling rejected because you've been let go, but not let go, but Blackburn have said they don't want you, to then getting 2 promotions on the bounce was just sort of indication that I'd made the right decision in believing that I could get back up, sort of thing.
Yeah, just how good is that as a player to get promoted? I mean, we've seen it the last couple of weeks now. Obviously, teams going up, and they don't have the luxury of fans being there. Just how good is it that day when it's confirmed and you're up? Like the celebrations look unreal.
Yeah, it's only now when I think back during the time. Obviously, when you're in your career, you don't like take everything in. Do you know what I mean? But then being sent a loads of videos over the past year and stuff of comes back to me straight away, and it was unbelievable. You know, like when you've gone through a season with, they're not just teammates, they become your brothers. Do you know what I mean? Because you're with each other every day. You see each other more than you see your family, and then to achieve something that you've all wanted to achieve, and you've all been working since you were kids to get these sort of days. When it actually comes, it's just amazing. Like you do the bus tours, and you know, you see all the fans and that, and what it means to them and that. And like I say, when I look back now, like I've been so fortunate to be able to experience that sort of stuff.
Yeah. After that, you went to Palace. How did that move kind of come about, and how was your time there? Obviously, I think you made maybe your most or second most appearances for a club at Palace, over 100 appearances. How did that move come about, and how did you find it at Palace?
Sorry, you broke up then.
Did I break up?
Yeah.
Am I back? Yeah, you got me. Sound. Yeah. So I said after the spell at Blues, you went to Palace next. How did that move come about, and how did you find your time there? Obviously, I think you made over 100 appearances, so you had a real good spell at the club.
Hello?
Hello?
Sorry. Every time you say Palace, you go,
That's just a Brummie accent, mate. You should know that.
So how did that move come about?
Yeah, how did it come about, and then how did you find your time there? You spent over 100 appearances, so how was it at Palace?
Yeah, well, obviously when we got promoted to the Premiership with Birmingham, Birmingham obviously brought a lot of players in, you know what I mean? So it made it difficult for me, sort of thing, because, you know, what you're buzzing when you get promoted to the Prem, but then every manager wants to strengthen them, and it sort of puts you down a pecking order. So it was tough at the beginning, like knowing that you played 38 appearances and then sort of you just pushed aside sort of thing. So that was tough. But Crystal Palace came in, and Neil Warnock was the manager at the time, and Nottingham Forest also wanted me to sign. But in the end, like Palace were doing well in the Championship, so I thought I'll go and sign there. And like I say, when I got there, within the first week, I injured my groin, and injured my groin, and then I was basically out for a year after signing for a week, and it was like I'd never had an injury that sort of just kept coming back, and I actually at the time thought this could be the end of my career, because they couldn't find out what it was with me groin, and I'd rest for 5 months, come back, and then during training 3 days it'd be go again. So I was like, this literally could be end. And I remember Neil Warnock wouldn't speak to me. So like I'd literally walk down the corridor and he'd just glance me, like I'd say morning, and he'd literally just glance me.
I can imagine that.
He thought that he thought that I came with the injury. You know what I mean? And I literally never. So I was out for a year, and then I remember I came back, played half the game after being out for a year, and Neil Warnock called me up in the office and just said, "Look, I'm going to put you on the transfer list. You're not. I thought you was a different player than you are." And I just said to him, I said, "Look, I've been out for a year. How can you judge me on half a game?" And he was like, "Well, I'm putting you on a transfer list, but you'll still be involved," sort of thing. And then the next game, he brought me on, and I just thought, watch me show you. So he brought me on, and then for like 30 minutes, I absolutely ran the show. And then literally, I started every single game ever underneath him then. And then ended up making over 100 appearances, and I think scored like 20 odd goals for them.
Yeah. Would you say that is maybe obviously barring the start where you had your injuries, would you say maybe you played some of your best football at Palace there for, a good few years, making over 100 appearances for, a good championship club?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's where I established myself as a proper championship player. Do you know what I mean? I think obviously I made a name for myself. Like I said, spent 3 years there, made a lot of appearances, and in the end, obviously, the club was going through some tough times in terms of going into administration and stuff.
Yeah.
And in the end, I had Celtic and Rangers trying to sign me, and I was basically, like, when I left Palace, I was basically getting ready to get in my car to go. I literally got halfway there, and the agent phoned me and was like, "Oh, Leicester have come in for you as well now." And obviously it was with Sven-Göran Eriksson, and he was signing loads of players, so it was exciting. And then, if I'm being honest, obviously I was on a free transfer, and he made an offer that I couldn't refuse.
Yeah.
That was the main reason.
Yeah. Just when you were speaking then, I got the bulk of it. Celtic and Rangers were interested at first. You got in the car to go somewhere. Where was it, Celtic or Rangers? Because it started buffering when you started saying that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was basically I was driving up to speak to Neil Lennon or Ali Murray.
Okay. Oh,
so I hadn't made the decision. I was just basically going to drive up and speak to them both, and then obviously I got the call from my agent saying, "Look, Leicester have been on the phone."
Yeah. So like you said, you played under Sven, ex-England manager, was like a top manager at Lazio. How was that then? Was that much different to working under your managers like Warnock and the managers you'd had before, Steve Bruce, etc., or is it not too different?
If I'm being honest, mate, probably the worst out of them all. Like, not in a bad way, but he just didn't really do anything. He didn't really get involved in training. He was more a manager that just stood on the side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd never experienced that before. I'd always had managers who were fully immersed in it, and like I said, it was for me. It just didn't work. But I don't know what stage of his career he was at. Then he might have been, when he was younger, more loud and more involved. But just when we got there, he wasn't really inspiring. And then in the end, he ended up getting sacked after about 2.5 months.
Yeah, I suppose it's different, isn't it? Like where he's managed in Italy, it's like a lot different culture to here. And then managing England, you'd be off most of the year, wouldn't it? And then just a couple weeks training in between. So yeah, I was maybe expecting you to say that he was a real good manager, but nah. So who would you say is the best manager you played under then? Obviously, we've not finished discussing your whole career, but some of the more notable managers you played under were at this period. So who would you say is the best?
I couldn't honestly say there was the best, but there was like some really good ones. So Neil Warnock Nigel Pearson, Steve Bruce. Steve Bruce was a real good man manager.
Yeah.
He played under Neil Lennon, who's a great manager, but if you haven't got character, so I've seen people go into the shelves, you know, because he's in your face sort of thing, and it's like, I couldn't even go into some of the stuff that goes on, you know, like in the changing rooms, and the names people fighting and everything, you know what I mean? That's how serious it gets. But no, I've had the privilege, like I say, to play under some amazing managers, and ones that I've just mentioned are probably up there. Obviously, the likes of James Seamus, and you know what I mean. Like I say, I've been blessed to play under some really, really top managers.
I mean, when you've read them out there, like Warner, Souness, Pearson, Lennon, that's a hard bunch of managers. You've had a lot of hard managers there.
Exactly, mate. Exactly.
Just on another couple of stuff, who would you say are the best players that you've played with, like alongside?
Once again, that's tough. I've had the privilege to train with the likes of Andy Cole, Dwight York, Ida Johnson, Emil Heskey, Damien Duff, David Dunn. He's so many. I've literally played with so many top players. You know what I mean? And, it's hard to say who's the best. You know what I mean? Because they're different positions for one, but they've all played where they've played for a reason, and you see that. You know what I mean? Even though sometimes when I've played with them, they might have been coming towards the end. You might have lost a little bit of pace, but you can still see why they were at the top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Champions League winners, and unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at your Instagram as well. I think you played against Ronaldo in a friendly as well, did you? Cristiano.
Yeah, well, that was actually the best team I've ever played against. It was our last pre-season game, and we played Real Madrid, and I actually started the game, and they had a midfield, Ozil, Kaká, Xavi Alonso, Di Maria on the left, Cristiano, Benzema, Marcelo, Ramos.
Yeah.
I mean, that was their starting lineup. Yeah. And then on the bench, he had even on the bench, he had Khedira. I was just like, what the hell, standing in the tunnel. But he only beat us 2-1, to be fair. So we did ourselves justice.
Happy days. So, and what would you say is the best atmosphere you've had at a match? Would it be one of them playoff finals, or would it be like a derby match or something?
Yeah, like I said, sometimes it's weird. You think the big games will have the best atmosphere, but sometimes it's not. It's like the smaller games, where they're in smaller grounds and local derbies, and the fans they're not like sort of big club fans. They're like proper, where you see outside the stadium before, mate, all the pints getting lashed everywhere. You know what I mean? But no, like I say, it's hard to pick out one.
Yeah,
it's hard to pick out one. But one of my best games was playing when we drew at Anfield against Liverpool, because it was the first time all my kids had got to see me play at Anfield, and they all support Liverpool. Like my oldest son, he's 15, he plays for Liverpool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean now, and so for them to see there, and they actually walked out onto the pitch with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a special moment.
Who was you playing for then? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can see you now.
Oh, it's out. Who was you playing for when you played at Anfield and had your kids there?
It was Bolton. Bolton, it was. We were actually winning the game for a while. I think Ida Johnson scored for us.
Yeah.
And then they equalised, and then we played them at home, and I got sent off. against we like they obviously had Gerrard and everyone, and we were beating them 1-0, and then 2 yellow cards for 2 fouls on Joe Allen, and then the tide changed. I think Coutinho and Sterling scored. We were down to 10 men. Neil Lennon made me bring 2 weeks' wages in.
So I'm just going to ask you something from a selfish point of view, because I'm a Villa fan. Did you ever play against Villa yourself? And for Blues? Yeah.
I didn't play for Blues. I didn't play against them for Blues. I played against them for Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
I was actually linked to them before I went to Blues. So they were interested in signing me. Obviously, it was all over the papers and stuff, and then obviously it never ended up materialising and that. But I've got good ties to Birmingham, and that obviously I signed there. But I actually, through half of my life, I grew up there as well, because my mum moved there when I was like 12.
Oh right.
So I used to live in I lived in Liverpool, but all me like breaks and summers and that, I'd be in Birmingham and that, like in the proper area. My mum lived in Aston, you know what I mean?
Oh, did she?
So the rough I don't know if you know the Barton Arms.
Barton Arms. No, I don't, to be honest with you. The only pubs I know around there are just the Villa ones, like right around the stadium.
You're posh, aren't you, from and all that.
What was that last bit? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Okay, you're probably one of the posh lads from Solihull.
Nah.
Solihull, are you from?
Nah, not from Solihull. Do you know Yardley? Yardley.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Not posh, not with this accent anyway. Not Solihull. So back on to the career. After Leicester, you ended up at another big club in Bolton. I was actually there today, actually doing another story. So I've never been there. They've got a real nice stadium, actually, didn't they? I didn't realise how nice the stadium is there. The club had a lot of financial difficulties when you were there. Like you mentioned earlier. What was it like playing for Bolton with all that going on behind the scenes?
It was tough. I obviously signed there because the manager at the time was Dougie Friedman, who'd had me at Crystal Palace. Mm-hmm. So he took me there. So I went on after to start off with, and then scored 6 goals. And then they made it permanent and bought me. And it was brilliant for me because it was the first time I actually got to be close to home throughout my career.
Yeah.
Since I'd left Blackburn, I'd never played in the Northwest, so it was good to get sort of back home and that. And yeah, like you said, it was tough times. We weren't getting paid for long periods of time and stuff like that. That happened to me at Crystal Palace, Bolton, Bury. I mean,
I was going to say that you must feel a little bit unlucky that you ended up at them 3 clubs at them times.
All the lads used to say it was me wages. That was the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, you're back.
Can you hear me now? It just went out for a second there, I think.
There you go, you're back.
Sound. Yeah, I didn't catch the last bit, so I was just, like you said, you're a bit unlucky to end up at Palace, Bolton and Bury when they were not in the best positions.
Look, I say all the lads used to say it was my wages.
Yeah, I wanted to say that to you, but I thought you might leave the call. Obviously, Bolton now are sort of on the right path, doing, they got promoted the other day. So hopefully, they sort of get back up, because being at that stadium, they're definitely, at least a Championship club, aren't they? Or, Premier League club. But after Bolton, you went to Bury.
Yeah.
I'll come on to Bury in a little bit, but you had a loan spell when you was at Bury at Blackpool, and had another promotion like you do every couple of years, it seems. How was that, getting another promotion under your belt at Blackpool?
Sorry, they broke up. I'm going to just try and connect to me.
All right, sound.
To me phone.
Okay, sound. So, on to Bury. I'll start with your loan spell at Blackpool before we really go into what happened at Bury. But how was that, another promotion under your belt on loan at Blackpool?
Yeah, it was good. I'd actually been injured at Bury for about 5-6 months. So I like sort of cracked my foot in the second game after signing. So I'd been there, signed. We started the season, first game of the season against Charlton, and beat them 2-0. No one was expecting, because they'd just come down from the Championship and we were Bury, and we had a really good side, to be fair. And then the second game, I ended up fracturing my foot, and then the manager sort of tried to get me back really early, and my foot just wasn't right. So I struggled for about 3 months. I couldn't even turn properly. So then I obviously ended up being out for a little bit, and then when I came back, I needed games to get fit. So I ended up going to Blackpool. I think we were like 10th, 11th at the time, and then like I said, I went there, and it was just, we just won game after game after game, and then in the end, like, I was stupid there as well. I joined a club where there wasn't even, the fans weren't turning up, because they hated they hated the owners. So we were literally playing in an empty stadium.
Yeah.
It was like Blackpool's a pretty decent stadium, and there was about 300 fans for us every game. Do you know what I mean? Well, fair play to the lads and that. We ended up just winning, and then obviously beat Exeter at Wembley, and got promoted.
Yeah. Was that, is that up there alongside the other promotions as, you know, some of the best days of your career? Yeah.
I wouldn't put it as high as them, because I joined halfway through the season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was different. Don't get me wrong, it was still amazing. It was the first time I'd ever played at Wembley. You know what I mean? And obviously to go there and win promotion on my first time was just like brilliant. So that holds a special memory. Like say, my kids getting to go to Wembley and watch me play and stuff like that. So yeah, it was really good times, and like I say, fully enjoyable.
And then after that, it was back to Bury, and then you sort of got your space back in the team, and eventually you got promoted to League One against the odds, really, because of everything that was going on behind the scenes, which has obviously been well documented. I was actually reading up on it before, and I think it was yourself and the rest of the players said that you didn't talk about, you tried not to talk about what was going on off the pitch, and try and concentrate on obviously seeing the job through and getting promoted. How difficult was that, and then how rewarding was it getting promoted, and then what followed?
It was, it's probably the best and worst time of my career. Do you know what I mean? Because that was the other clubs that it happened to me at, Crystal Palace, Bolton. All of us were financially well off. Do you know what I mean? If I'm being honest, we all had good contracts. We didn't have really nothing to worry about. If you missed wages, you still had good savings and stuff like that. But then when I went to Bury, I was playing with lads who hadn't had that sort of opportunity, and some living month to month, and you know what I mean, with kids, and we literally didn't get paid for 7 months. You know what I mean? I think one of the lads ended up losing his house. I remember we had to go and do a gym session, and the physio hadn't been paid for like 5 months, and some of the lads were getting food, and he didn't have no money to get food, and I was like, obviously, like I paid and stuff like that, but it's like I've seen it really, really where you actually see, no, this is actually destroying people's lives, and for them players that were in that situation, for them to have the the bollocks to go out on a Saturday and perform under them circumstances was just, honestly, I hold them in such high esteem. And like I said, to get to that, to win promotion in the end was just like the biggest relief. Like, of just wasn't so much. We didn't really like. We couldn't celebrate it properly, but it was just nice to do that with people that you went through so much with.
Yeah, I mean, did it feel like if you got that promotion, maybe that might be the thing that could, save the club and get a buyer, because obviously going up might generate a bit more money for the club. Did the players feel like getting that might be something that can save the club? Obviously, it was totally out of your hands and you've done everything you could. But did you feel like that might be the catalyst for the club?
We did at certain points, but before we got promoted, we sort of had an inkling that it didn't matter what was happening. That the owner had an agenda. Like the owner, the way it looked to me is that new owner was brought in to destroy Bury no matter what. So, because in the end, obviously, I stayed till the very end and was going to sign because there was 3 people that wanted to buy the club, that had the money there to buy the club, and that the owner refused.
Yeah,
like just literally refused, and we was like, these people are giving you what you said you wanted, and he still wouldn't sell it, because there'd been things that had gone on before he took over, and I think he was brought in to basically get rid of the club because there was evidence of other stuff that had gone on there.
Yeah, because it didn't really make sense, did it? I know, like, obviously we all want what's best for a football club and the community and the players and whatever, but even from a selfish perspective, as a businessman, if you get a good offer for a club and no one wants you there, why don't you take it?
If someone offers you literally £1,000, it's better than nothing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I mean, he didn't pay much for the club either, did he?
£1.
Yeah.
he paid £1 by the previous owner, who had obviously been doing stuff that he wanted hidden.
Yeah.
So he's give it to him for £1, but his job was to go and destroy it.
Yeah.
The evidence, basically. That was my belief, because there was players there on contracts when I signed that I was like, how is this club playing these contracts? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I think the previous owner had took loans and things from banks to try and just have one go at getting to the championship, and it never worked. And then inevitably he destroyed everything.
Yeah, no, it's horrible what happened there. I actually live in Bury now with my girlfriend, and we went to the stadium the other week to do like another thing for uni. It's horrible, and it seemed like a football. I mean, I know they're all empty at the minute because fans aren't allowed in, but like just knowing that no one's gonna be in the stadium supporting them again, and all the shirts outside and stuff. It's
it's sad. But I know they are still trying to get it back resurrected now, which is brilliant if that can happen. I think obviously they'd have to start at the very lowest, but there's people that are trying to actually get that club back, resurrected. And like I say, I did a video for the people that are trying to get it done at the minute, and like I say, it'd be amazing if that town had a football club to support again. Do you know what I mean? And I know that it'd rise through the league really quick if it actually starts from the bottom, because when you've got a fan base, it's easy to get to a certain level. You know what I mean? Straight away.
Well, I mean, Wimbledon done the same thing, didn't they? Not so long ago, like worked the way. Now they've got like a brand new stadium themselves, haven't they? So hopefully Bury can do something similar to that.
Well, Macclesfield are doing it now as well. They're just waiting to find out what league they're going to go in, but they've just refurbished the whole stadium, and I know the manager there and he was literally talking to me the other day, just saying like they're basically doing the same sort of thing. Just got to start at the bottom and just rise.
Yeah. So now onto post Bury when you left the club, obviously. You've played for a few sides since, most notably probably Tranmere. Now you're playing in Wales, aren't you? If I'm right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm probably going to struggle to pronounce. I don't know if I'm saying this one right. Is it Connors Q Nomads?
Yeah. So but obviously the TNS have been. Everyone knows the TNS. They've been a runaway of the Welsh League for years. Like I think they've won it like 10 times or 8 times in the last 10 years or something. And obviously I got given the opportunity to go down there. And like I say, TNS have been in the European Cup. The team I play for now played in the Europa League last season. They actually knocked Kilmarnock out from the Scottish Premiership, and that tells you that the standard's not bad. You know what I mean? If they're beating Scottish Premier League sides, and currently now we've got 1 game left of the season. If we win on Saturday, we've won the league and qualify for the Champions League.
Oh, brilliant! So the TNS have won it maybe 8 years on the bounce or something, and you're about to hopefully.
Yeah. If we win Saturday, well, my team got given it last year as champions, but there was like 10 games to go.
Yeah, was it like points per game or something like that, or just
points? Yeah, points per game. So although they were crowned champions, like the TNS fans, and it was like that's, you know what I mean. But if we win Saturday, then that obviously puts that to bed, and with it the official champions, I think it'll be the first time in the club's history.
Brilliant. Well, good luck for Saturday then. You've also been playing for the Ghanaian national team as well since like 2015, I think. How's that been now, like making the step into international football away from club football? How have you found that?
Yeah, it was amazing. Like I said, when I first went 5 years ago, it was an eye opener. And when you play for a small nation and stuff like that, it was like, whoa, what have I actually done here? You know what I mean? But in the end, it just, like I say, it kept improving, and that was my whole point when I went there. Like some players wouldn't have went back; they would have been like, "Nah, this is too much." But I just thought, "Nah, I'm going to try and help." And then, like I say, after 4 years of being there, obviously, I think I scored like 12 in like 16 games or something, and I scored in every single game that got us to qualify for the first ever Gold Cup a couple of years ago. Where we obviously played. It's the first time the nation had ever been in a major tournament in its history. We were there with the likes of Mexico, Panama, USA, Trinidad and Tobago, and then obviously everyone thought when we qualified that we'd just be the whipping boys, get battered like 8-0 and that. But like I say, we first game we got beat 4-0 by USA, and in the second game we lost 4-2 to Panama, who withdrew with Brazil like 3 months earlier. I don't know what I mean, and then. I scored 2 against them, and then we played Trinidad, who have obviously qualified for World Cup, one of the big nations in the Caribbean. We 1-0 up against them until the 81st minute. I scored again, and then, so like I say, it was our first ever tournament, and we didn't finish bottom of the group. Do you know what I mean? So that was amazing for us. We finished third behind Panama, who were in the last World Cup, and USA. You know what I mean?
So
most of our players are playing non-league.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it sounds like you've had a real good experience there. Are you still playing for them now?
I haven't officially retired, but like I say, because of the year that's happened this year and stuff, it's been tough, really. Do you know what I mean? The last international, I hadn't really been playing enough to probably warrant going. Do you know what I mean? And like I say, I'm 38 now, so I'm under no illusions. Like it probably will go on now. Do you know what I mean? And move on, transition and stuff. So if they need me, I'm always available. That's what I've always said, and that's all. But I've had enough good experiences, and that if that's not the case, then I'm fine with that as well.
Yeah. So, like you said, the career in football as a player is maybe like winding down now in the next year or so. How do you reflect on it as a whole? Because we've just went through everything that you've done. and there's so many promotions. You know, played with great players against great players, big managers. How do you reflect on it all?
It's only been, like I say, the last six months probably where I've started looking back, and I reflect on it like a lot of people say, oh, you've had a really good career and stuff like that, and I just say, you know what, like I'm just grateful. You know what I mean? That's how I look at everything now, with just gratitude. It's like I was a kid from top stuff. You know what I mean? Who, like probably other people probably thought I'd go in other directions and stuff, and I've managed to travel the world playing in front of millions of people, and like just when you look back and you think you did that, it's like, wow, it's just gratitude. You know what I mean? And like thankful that, like say, how many people want to sort of live that dream. And I was a kid just like everyone else who had a dream, do you know what I mean, to play football, and unfortunately I got I was allowed to do that. And like I say to all the youngsters now, like in academies, or if I see young lads coming through, I say, look, give everything you've got to say, because like the memories, the experiences that you'll gain from this game, you'll never, like, if you don't give everything that you've got, then you'll look back and you'll think, what the hell? You see other people living that dream, you know what I mean? And that's it.
Yeah, well, yeah, you've definitely had a brilliant career, like, well done. But you're not just good at football, apparently. Jake told me you're passionate about music, and I've had a little look at your Instagram page, and you seem to be pretty good with your music, doing pretty well. So what does the future hold after football, after the boots are hung up entirely? I think you're doing some coaching at Liverpool as well, aren't you? So you got your coaching, and I've seen you've done a bit of punditry as well, and then obviously the music. So what's the future hold?
Like I say, I've always been one of them people that when I'm passionate about things, I sort of have like an OCD sometimes, and I can't switch off. So like I said, once the football ends, I'll need something else to sort of switch that energy to. And like I say, at the moment, working with the kids at Liverpool, coaching at such a massive club, you know what I mean, is like a privilege for me. Like when I'm there now and I see some of the talent that's there, and that, like, and I know how hard it is for players to get in clubs, even, you know, ex-players and stuff. It's really tough because there's only so many positions. So fortunately for me to be able to give an opportunity at a club like Liverpool Football Club is just not something that I take for granted, you know what I mean? So I'm enjoying that, really enjoying that. Like I say, the punditry work I've been doing for Sky, really enjoyed that. And the music is at the moment more a hobby, more something like some people go and play golf, and I like to just create music. And like I say, if that can go any further, then so be it. But the good thing is I'm not dependent on music, or I've got it. You know what I mean? That's not thing. If something happens there, then brilliant. If not, then, you know what I mean? Whereas at the moment, football's always been my first love, and will probably remain till the day I die. Do you know what I mean? So there's loads of opportunities, and I don't know what's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Football's one of those games, mate, where you might never ever see me in a game again in 3 months. That's how things change in football. I could end up a first team coach somewhere, or still playing. Do you know? I just go with the flow now, mate. Like I say, I take every day as it comes, and what will be. But I'm enjoying life, and that's
I was gonna say, like, you've obviously got a lot of knowledge to pass on to the next generation of footballers, like you're doing now, and obviously you've done all right so far because you've got a son playing for Liverpool, like you said. Do you think that is something that you will pursue, the coaching? Is that something that you want to work, or are you just taking it easy? Is that just taking it easy for now?
Well, do you know what? When I first, if you would have asked me 4 or 5 years ago, I would have said no. I would have said, nah, that's not. And then obviously with my son being there, and I know the coaches and that are there, because there's still some coaches there that were there when I was a schoolboy. You know what I mean? Like, there's like 2 or 3 coaches that literally had me at under 12s. You know what I mean? So I'm always speaking to them, and they was like, just come in. So I just went in, and then like surprise myself because I just really started enjoying it. So, like I said, I do really enjoy it at the moment, and that. So, it's definitely a path that I'm going along already.
Yeah.
How far it'll go, I don't know, but like I say, you just take one step at a time, don't you?
Yeah. Well, good luck with that. I'm speaking to you now. I think you seem like the type of person who would be a good coach, and obviously hopefully you're doing well already at Liverpool. But thanks a lot for speaking to me, mate. I really appreciate it.
No worries, mate. It's been good speaking to you, mate.